Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to this gathering as we continue in the season of Pentecost. We gather on a day like this, just like the first disciples did, who were few in number, by the way, a long, long time ago. And they were a group of sinners and saints and misfits and mystics. So, there's room for you here in this great, big, messy family. Together, we take one more step along the road we go. Are you ready, Dave? Oh.
Yeah, I was turning off the fan because it was a little bit noisy.
I like it though.
One more step along the world I go. One more step along the world I go. From real things to the new. Keep me traveling along with you. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me traveling along with you.
I was at conference this week, as was Rebecca. So nobody checked the PowerPoint except for Ross this morning and Angela, so thank you. Our call to worship. When the world divides us, come, Holy Spirit, make us one. When the world calls us orphaned, come, Holy Spirit, make us family. When the world leads us astray, come, Holy Spirit, and call us home. Come, Holy Spirit, come. Come and fill this place. As we continue to gather, we acknowledge that the land beneath our feet was once shared with all of God's creation and cared for by the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and First Nations. So we raise our hands in deep appreciation for their care of this creation, the lands that we have inherited. May we walk in good relationship, seeking reconciliation whenever possible with these very good people. Ross, what's our next screen? Oh, some introductions. With Diego and Angela are here, Ross is on PowerPoint, and Keith is here this morning. So let's just take a few minutes, grab another coffee, perhaps a cookie, and we'll gather again at the sound of the bell. Let us sing.
Source of life.
image of pilgrimage we have worked on for a very, very long time here at Fairfield United Church. And this story is found in many places in our sacred text. We often think about Genesis when we think about pilgrimage. There's a special promise in this getting up and walking into unfamiliar places. And as a people, we're called to think and remember that promise even when things feel very, very difficult. I think my call is to remember that this form of pilgrimage has blessed people for over 5,000 years. And so no matter where they've been on their journey or who they've been with, this promise has continued to call them and form them as a people. Wild, crackling, on fire, holy God, we long to know your ways, your unleashed, unbridled, unspent ways, your righteous love, your saturated grace, your unrestrained mercy, your attentive storm of peace. Blow us up in your holy winds, fire us in the heart of your justice. Move us to speak with your mark on our hearts. Make us steadfast as the breath you breathe into us. Dance with us and all of creation. Call us to ignite the world in which we live with your truth, your call, and your need. We light our Pentecost flame this day in our hearts and here with our tiny candle on our table. We are your word. We are your light. We are the hands and feet of Christ. Amen. Let us sing Fire of Love. Now the Lord said to Abram, Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the ones who curse you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. All of the families shall be blessed. So Abraham went, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Abraham took his wife Sarah and his brother's son Lot and all the possessions that they had, gathered it, and the persons whom they had acquired in Haran. And they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. And when they had come to the land, Abraham passed through the land of Shechem to the old oak of Moreh. At the time, the Canaanites were in the land, and then the Lord appeared to Abraham and said, to your offspring, I will give you this land. So he built there an altar to the Lord, whom had appeared to him. And from there he moved on to the hill country on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west, and on the east he built an altar to the Lord, and evoked the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on by stages. Let us sing.
Be thou my vision, O joy of my heart. Not me all else to be safe that thou art. Thou lightest out by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, my calm in all strife. I am with me, and thou in my life. Thou loving parent, my child may I be. Thou in me dwelling, and I one with thee. Riches I need not, nor vain empty praise. Thou my inheritance, now and always. Thou and thou only, the first in my heart. Great God of heaven, my treasure thou art. Great God of heaven, after victory won, may I reach heaven's joy so bright and sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all.
Good morning again. On your next resolution to read all the way through the Bible. The first 11 chapters of Genesis are kind of like a hodgepodge of miscellaneous things that have been thrown together. The real story still starts with this in chapter 12 of Genesis. And again it says, now the Lord said to Abraham, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land I will show you. I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless you, and the ones who curse you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So begins the grand narrative of the Bible, a powerful story, driven by a promise that sustains through all the stages of life, of which there are many. Now, pastoral care does not fall in my current job description now, although some conversations happen. He began, over the past few months, I have been forgetting a lot. And I'm noticing that I don't have the same drive to connect with the children and grandchildren that used to be me. The telling of the story continued, arriving at a critical point. A visit with a neurologist led to a preliminary diagnosis of early onset dementia. His grandmother had suffered the same, and so he had content to feed scenarios of a possible future. The emotions rolled in like the waves of a Pacific storm. Fear, anger, frustration, sadness, and even some relief that there was now an apparent reason for unexplained behavior. But a new stage of life was now in motion. The grand narrative of the Bible continues, stage by stage. When they had come to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. From there he moved on to the hill country on the east of Bethel, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar, and Abraham journeyed on by stages towards the Negev. The neurologist told my friend not to dwell on the future, but to focus on the present. As a person of Christian conviction, he reframed the question, how do I live with faith in the present? The question is profound and delicate. As the people of Israel journeyed stage by stage, they exhibited at least three postures toward the challenges that they faced. And interestingly, I was reading some current research on leadership styles recently and found an uncanny resemblance. Each of these three postures toward the various stages of life is a choice, at least as illustrated by Abraham's conversations with God. The first posture towards the challenges of life might be called to me. Why do these things happen to me? And in this mindset, external realities are responsible for our unhappiness, our failures, our present circumstances. If only my spouse were more understanding. If only society wasn't changing. If only the church going to church was a societal expectation. If only there were no Sunday sports. If only there were no Canaanites in the land. At worst, this devolves into a victim consciousness, which always looks to the past to assign blame for the current experience. Within this perspective, why questions dominate thoughts and conversations. Why? Why did this have to happen to me or to us? Interestingly, research indicates that 95% of leaders spend 90% of their time in this state. Though regrettable, this choice becomes a default posture. It is understandable, since this is the framework that saturates the air that we breathe. You'll hear in all kinds of media talk shows, something is wrong, someone is to blame. That someone is not us, it's them. And we are right, and they are wrong. Even though popular, long-term immersion in this viewpoint corrodes the soul. Constantly seeking to blame works on the soul like acid on the skin. In theological language, such a posture hobbles the Holy Spirit. In light of Pentecost, just last week, we have the opportunity and the responsibility to live life in the power of the Spirit. To live accompanied by the Spirit means, unreasonably, that God is present in every situation, however demanding. And faith in such time does not mean working hard to believe certain things, but being open to experiencing faith as a gift, as a discovery. God, through the prophets, continually calls the people of Israel to recognize God with them, whether in a pillar of fire or in a cloud. In the book of Exodus, by day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so they could travel by day or night. By me describes the second significant way that the people of Israel responded to the journey's challenges. Now, this approach moves from kind of a victim consciousness to a sense of creating with, work with what is before us. This response does not spend the majority of time chafing because the world is not in a certain way, the right way, which happens to be my way, but seeks to discover what is happening. Whereas blame marks the first posture, curiosity characterizes the second. What's happening here? Like what is my role? What is our role? So the world around us is changing. The old way of being church is no longer sustainable. The lives of youth are vastly different than the lives their grandparents experienced. Well, what does that mean for our way of being church, for discipleship? During these times in its journey, God called the people of Israel to take greater responsibility. Quit whining about the Egyptians, the Canaanites, the Philistines. You shall be my people. I shall be your God. Now go and live like it. Figure out how you shall be my people during this stage of the journey. And no golden calves. As many of you know, or at least some of you, I have a younger brother that lives with extreme OCD and is on the autistic scale. And since the death of my parents, about a dozen years ago, his primary care has fallen to my wife Gay and me. Now, reflecting back, I spent too many years chafing against this reality. Why me? I'm too busy with church work, if not God's. I don't have the time or the energy to care for my brother. The shift came a couple of years ago when I decided to quit blaming him, wondering if there was a better way to be with him than just being constantly frustrated and impatient. And believe me, being with an OCD person can be frustrating. But taking responsibility for my moods, I became more curious, not only about the technical aspects of those conditions, but I began to pay greater attention to those things which brought him joy and life. So my questions shifted from how can I get him to do what I want to asking what is the best way to respond to him in his life. In a West Coast image, I quit fighting against the waves, shifting instead to wondering how to read and respond to them. Now, the third stance we might call the through me approach. And I was fascinated to discover that this framework arose in the secular context of leadership. Because in essence, the question becomes, is there something going on that is larger than me or us? Fascinating. The researchers frame this in secular language. What is life's highest idea of itself that wants to manifest in and through me. As Christians, we would say, what are God's deepest yearnings for us, our neighbors, and the world? In what are we called to cooperate? In the language that we've been using the past few months, this is the soul question, to which we have been moving as we seek to probe our deepest yearnings, to pay attention to the groanings of the world around us, and to sense God's most resounding cries and desires in this stage of our life. What are the real opportunities before us that resonate deeply with us, with our souls? So, for example, and this is not prescriptive, it just is an example. Imagine that a congregation has discerned that their ministry focus is hospitality. The deep work of the soul moves beyond having friendly faces at the door, good communication, etc., telling people where the washrooms are, but to something more profound. Understanding hospitality is getting to know and understand others. What would it look like for them to take a bench in the village or erect a little stall by the ocean pathway with a sign that said, please have a cup of coffee or water or juice and tell me about your life? No salesperson will call. This becomes more than an exercise in handing out drinks when we seek to hear the groanings of the soul of another and wonder about the resonance with the yearnings of ourself and God. The focus shifts from ourselves to trying to discern how God may be moving, calling to us from out there. During the long journey from Haran to the Promised Land, the Israelites often exhibited these approaches. Sometimes the deep complaining of, to me, how could this happen to me, moves to the by me, how can I ride this wave? To through me, what is God up to? What does the yearning of our soul call us towards? I think we could probably trace the journey of Fairfield United using similar criteria. At times, you, as leaders in a congregation, have railed, why me? How can this be happening to us? At other times, you have breathed deeply and said, okay, this is our reality. What are the possibilities before us? How do we learn to be the people of God here? And during the last few months, the more demanding, more profound work of trying to pay attention to our soul individually and collectively. For what do we yearn? Not just what would we like, what do we think would be salient, but what do we yearn for? Which aspects of God's dream deeply desires to come to life through us? My friend with early onset is determined not to dwell in the moments of why me, why is this happening to me? Although he sometimes visits there. He wants to understand his situation's movements and try to live with as much grace as possible while he can. In time, although this is a ways off, he may wonder how God might work through that condition. Now the Lord said to Abraham, go from your country. And when they had come to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak at Moreh. From there he moved on to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched a tent. Bethel on the west, Ai on the east. There he built an altar, and then from there he journeyed on by stages towards the Negev. Each stage of the journey required choices. Not just about food and where to pitch the tents, but decisions about how the people would orient themselves to the opportunities and challenges of each time. We are in good company. Amen.
Sorry. Your faithfulness calls me.